Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another day in eyeshadow palette week, where every single day for 7 days I am posting some sort of eyeshadow themed content. I am pre-filming a little bit, so I'm not exactly certain of the order that these videos will be going up in, but as always, if you have any eyeshadow content you would like to see from me, leave me a comment down below. I'm very excited for today's video. I'm going to be ranking all of the eyeshadow formulas that Sephora has to offer. So currently they have 34 different brands that carry eyeshadow palettes within Sephora, and I have tried 23 of those 34 eyeshadow formulas, and I'm going to be ranking those for you today. Now I do know there are some brands where not all eyeshadow palettes are created equally. For example, like Huda Beauty, I feel like has some really hit or miss shadows, but in general I ranked them from like how many of their palettes I own and enjoy, etc. And I'm very excited to rank these for you today. I would love to get your feedback in the comments as well. Which brands have you tried? How would you rank the brands that you've tried? Let us know in the comments. Other than that, if you're interested in seeing how I would rank the 23 brands of eyeshadow formulas that I've tried at Sephora, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project planning content, palette themed content, or just chit-chatting about makeup, I would love if you'd consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. All right guys, as I mentioned in the introduction, there are currently 34 different brands. I hope that I got that right. I went through like every single eyeshadow palette that you could purchase at Sephora / like Makeup Forever sells single eyeshadows, or used to, so I included them in my list. Here are the 11 brands that I have not yet tried from Sephora. I am still interested in trying some of these, or maybe you guys think these are terrible. Let me know in the comments. What brand should I stay away from? But I do have the 23 brands that I have tried to rank for you today. Again, some of these I've tried more palettes than others, and some of them, like for example Melt Cosmetics as well, there are certain eyeshadow palettes I really like from Melt and a couple of dud palettes, but I just generalized everything. This is all in good fun. This is how I would rank these. You may love the brand that I rank last. It's all in good fun. So let's get into the worst eyeshadow formula that I feel like I've tried that is offered at Sephora, and that would be Smashbox Cosmetics. I remember when I was first getting into makeup, it was when Smashbox first released those like cover shot, like small 7-pan palettes. I feel like if it was good quality eyeshadow, those palettes I would like love right now. And I also feel like they always had very unique color stories. But I had purchased a holiday set, and maybe it was because it was a holiday set, but I feel like I had one other cover shot palette as well, and it was like chalk, like it was just like, or like rock dust, like it was like no pigment on the eyes. It was terrible quality, and it was one of the few times I've ever returned makeup. The 3 palettes that were in there, I think there was 1 highlighting palette and then 2 of the not cover effects, of the Smashbox cover shot palettes, and I was like, this is just so bad, I'm returning these. And I've only that's like the only memory I have of trying Smashbox shadow, so I had to rank that at 23. And then coming at number 22, another thing that I was just actually so disappointed in was the Fenty Beauty, the little snap shadow palettes. I was so excited when Fenty Beauty was releasing these like new innovative palettes that you could purchase too and like snap them together, and I thought that the color stories were really fun. They were 6-pan palettes. I like a more condensed, more curated palette. It's just like, especially these days, I like really love a condensed palette. But again, it just had like no pigment payoff. I felt like it was really chalky. The formula was really dry, and ultimately I ended up decluttering the 2 palettes that I purchased because I just was not a fan. Coming in at number 21, I have Violet Voss. I've tried a couple palettes from Violet Voss. Some of them have come in BoxyCharm, and then I believe I've also purchased 2 Violet Voss palettes. I purchased the Like a Boss palette and potentially like the Holy Grail, something like that. And I was super excited to try Violet Voss. Still, I really want to try the Flamingo palette. That is something that's just like remained on my wish list since it released, but I was so excited. I purchased the Like a Boss palette from Violet Voss first. I love the color story. I loved there was like the green shade in there, and I thought that this was just going to be like my palette. This was at the time where right around I think when like Laura Lee had potentially collaborated with Violet Voss, so it was like super popular. Everyone was talking about like the big 75 pan eyeshadow palette from them, and I just thought that I was going to absolutely love the formula. And I remember I like kept trying and kept trying and kept trying the palette over and over and over again, and I kept being like, it just must be me, like I must be doing something wrong. But I just did not fall in love with the formula, and I've decluttered all of my Violet Voss palettes up until this point. Coming in at number 20, I feel like I'm ranking this at 20 because it's been a long time since I've tried this formula, but I feel like I would like this formula, like from what I can remember. It's Makeup Forever. I feel like their palettes, I don't think I've tried a palette from them, but I have tried their single shadows. They are expensive, which is another reason I've ranked them lower. I think it's like somewhere in the 20s. You do get larger pans of eyeshadow, but they're expensive. If I'm remembering correctly, the quality was good, but also I do prefer like buying just a palette over single shadows, unless they're like indie duochrome shadows, then I love to purchase those. But it's also been a long time since I've tried the Makeup Forever formula, and I'm not like super inclined to go purchase any single shadows from them. So that's why I ranked them at number 20. Coming in at number 19, this is a very expensive eyeshadow brand. I went with Tom Ford. I've only tried one palette from Tom Ford, so take this review with a grain of salt. This is the Meteoric Quad, and I want to say this was limited edition. I also feel like Tom Ford has a ton of different formulas to my knowledge. I don't know a ton about Tom Ford makeup in general, and I feel like they've recently potentially reformulated or come up with a new formula that they're selling at Sephora. I do really like the color story of this, and I think the shadows perform really nicely. Like I like the look that I get when I use these 4 shades. Even this like satin shimmer shade I actually really enjoy, but I just think $88 for eyeshadow is a little bit ridiculous, so that's why I had to rank this one lower. And then coming in at number 18, I have another luxury brand. I am ranking Charlotte Tilbury in the 18th spot. I only have one palette left from Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Bigger Brighter Eyes, the Exaggerize quad. $53 for these quads. I just feel like it's just like fine quality. Like it's not like the best eyeshadow I've ever tried, and for the price tag I was like, there's better out there that you can buy like a full palette for less than $53, that you're getting way more than 4 shades. So that's why I had to rank that one at number 18. Coming in at number 17, I'm actually like really disappointed in this palette. This is from Rare Beauty. I thought I was going to absolutely love this palette. I feel like I've seen so many people create really beautiful looks with this palette. This is the True to Myself eyeshadow palette, and I don't know if, again, maybe it's just me, but I did not love the way that I got like the matte shadows to blend with one another. It could also be a color story thing with this. The real reason I've kept this around is I do really like this duochrome pink shade. I like that the palette is like kind of unique in that the shapes of the pans are a little bit different. I do think the packaging is a little bit cheap and a little bit bulky, and I just like wasn't uber impressed with the quality in this. It didn't make me like want to like run out or like be sitting here like waiting for Rare Beauty's next eyeshadow release. So I had to rank that one at number 17. Coming in at number 16, I really love this eyeshadow palette, but I've also tried other palettes from this brand that I haven't been uber wowed by, and it is going to be Viseart. So I have a palette that I actually purchased from Beautylish, and I think it was limited edition. I don't know if it was ever even available on the Sephora website, but I've also tried one of their like $80 palettes, and I just was not impressed with the $80 palette. I love this eyeshadow palette. And I've come to learn that with Viseart shadows, they are just a more like sheer buildable formula, which I have really come to appreciate. And for days that I'm just looking for like a soft or a light eyeshadow look, I love reaching into this. This was something I reached for a lot last summer and can see myself reaching for again quite frequently as we get into spring and summer this year. But I couldn't rank Viseart any higher just because this was the first palette that I really came to love from them. I think I've tried 2 of their petite palettes as well in the past, possibly 3, and I just didn't fall in love with any of those. So I do want to try more from Viseart, but at this moment in time, I can't rank them higher than 16. Next up, coming in at number 15, I have Makeup by Mario. I have tried 2 of Makeup by Mario's quads. I decluttered the Rosy Glam one and I kept the Bronzy Glam one. I think that the eyeshadow, like the formula is really nice. I actually like really enjoyed both. I just wasn't really reaching for the Rosy Glam one, and I really like having this one still in my collection. I'm not sure about his larger palettes, but I just like don't get like super excited. Like it's just a basic bronzy palette, so I don't get super excited about like reaching into this. And I also have other eyeshadow formulas that just excite me more. I look forward to the brand's releases a little bit more than this, so that's why I ranked this one at number 15. Then coming in at number 14, I have Too Faced, and I only own a couple palettes still from Too Faced. I feel like in terms of quality, Too Faced quality is usually pretty consistent in that it's pretty good. It's not my favorite eyeshadow formula. It's pretty densely packed, which I don't necessarily mind, but sometimes I feel like I have to work a little bit more to like get the pigment payoff that I want from the shadows. I do really love this palette, but again, there's other eyeshadow brands that I get more excited about the releases over like Too Faced releases, so that's why I ranked this one a little bit lower. Coming in at number 13, I have Tarte Cosmetics. Tarte is another brand similar to Too Faced where I feel like they're really consistent with their quality. I loved the Tartelette in Bloom palette. That eventually was just so old that I had to declutter it, but I still think about that palette to this day and like kind of want to repurchase this. I do really enjoy this palette from Tarte as well. This one was the Tarte Unleashed palette. I just get more excited about other brands over Tarte. That's the only reason I'm ranking this one at number 13, but I still think in terms of quality, you really can't go wrong with Tarte. Again, more firmly pressed, but I think really beginner friendly, and usually their color stories are just a little bit more neutral, geared towards like your everyday sort of makeup style rather than super bold or super colorful. Coming in at number 12, I have Urban Decay. Urban Decay is inconsistent in my opinion compared to like Tarte or Too Faced. I get super excited about many of their releases, but then I'm like hesitant to purchase at times because I feel like their eyeshadow formula is just really hit or miss. I actually really enjoyed this palette. This is the Urban Decay Wild West palette. I love the color story. I think it's really fun, especially for just like a little bit of a twist on neutrals. I like that you have like a deeper side, a lighter side, and then a fun pop of blue, and you also have this navy shade in here. But the newest palette from Urban Decay, the Wild Greens palette, was a huge bust in my opinion. So while I get really excited about Urban Decay releases, I also am always just hesitant, which is why I had to rank them at number 12. And then coming in at number 11, I have Aether Beauty. I don't own a ton from Aether Beauty, but I do really enjoy what I do own from them. This is the Amethyst palette, and I haven't used this palette a ton, but I actually have one of the Aether Beauty quads on my eyes today. I really enjoy their shimmer formula. I just think it's very smooth, and sometimes shimmers or like really foiled shades can end up looking a little bit chunky on my eyes or a little bit crepey. I love the Aether formula because it's just really smooth. I think that they just have like a fun brand aesthetic in general as well that kind of like gets me excited. I always look forward to seeing what they're releasing, so I think their mattes blend really nice, and again, they just have that really nice smooth shimmer slash foiled formula, so they would be my number 11. All right guys, I just realized I'm off on I missed a brand. So we're into the top 10, and my brand number 10 is going to be ABH. ABH is a brand that I probably would have ranked number 1 like 3 or 4 years ago, and I still think they have really good quality palettes. I just have not gotten excited about their releases like I used to. I don't think that their color stories have been super unique like they used to, which is why I had to rank them at 10. I do still really enjoy the quality of their shadows. The Sultry palette is still like one of my favorite palettes in my collection, but some of the brands that are ranking higher, I just get more excited about their color stories or just about their releases in general. So I had to rank ABH at number 10. Okay, keep in mind I was off count, or I had missed ABH. So the next few brands I'm gonna be saying, oh, this is number 10, but we're off a little bit. All right, we are now into the top 10. Coming in at number 10, I have the Kajal eyeshadow formula. I can't find my other stack right now, but I do own 2 of the Kajal stacks. Here is Glowing Guava. And these are just really fun because they're easy, just like very simple palettes, if you will, to travel with. Like if you just need some basic, just like basic stuff. So easy to travel with. You can create obviously a full look with these, and it's just super quick and simple. Their shimmer formula is another one that's just very smooth on the lids, and I like the way that it applies to my eyelids. Their mattes blend really easily. I like that it's just like a quick, easy color story. It's like quick and easy. Really such a fun like idea too to do these stacks. So I had to rank Kajal at number 10. Coming in at number 9, I have Lawless Beauty. I've tried all but one of Lawless's palettes. I really like her 2 small palettes that I own. I have the Glam one as well as her Baby one eyeshadow palette, and I love both of the small ones. The large, the one eyeshadow palette from Lawless I thought was a dud, and if I was solely going off of that palette alone, the Lawless formula would have ranked much lower for me. But with the smaller ones, I find that the shimmers are super intense and super metallic, super like poppy and in your face. I love the metallics, but the mattes are just very blendable, very smooth, creamy. They work well together, and I just find these very like quick, simple, and easy as well, but also like pops of glam too. Like it's not just gonna be like, you can go from like a light makeup look to a very sultry, sexy, like glamorous makeup look with both this and the Baby one palette in my opinion. So I would rank Lawless at number 9. Coming in at number 8, I have NARS. I have 2 eyeshadow palettes from NARS. I absolutely love the Summer Solstice palette, and I do like the Climax palette. I just found that the mattes in this palette were not as blendable as like the ones in the Summer Solstice. My one gripe with with NARS is that all of their palettes are limited edition, and I've heard really hit or miss with like the formula. I don't think the formula is like consistent throughout. Again, I only have experience with these 2 palettes. I fell in love with the Summer Solstice, so this one is like really bringing this one up in the ranks. I just found that the mattes in this were really easy to blend, and then it was a really nice sheer, again, very smooth shimmer formula or foiled formula, and I just really enjoyed this palette. So I know NARS just released a new 16 pan, 15 pan, a new eyeshadow palette that I'm very interested in purchasing. It's not like the 9 pans like this, it's one of the longer ones, which I haven't tried, so thinking about picking that up. Coming in at the number 6 spot, I have Melt Cosmetics. And Melt Cosmetics eyeshadow formula is not going to be for the faint of heart. It is a more difficult formula to work with. I think the shimmers are not too bad to work with, except for like in the Mary Jane palette, some of the shimmers are just like chunkier and there's a ton of fallout. You definitely need a glitter glue, but I do find that the matte formula I do find Melt's matte formula to be one that you just have to work a little bit harder at. You have to blend for a little bit longer, but it is worth it in the end. I just absolutely adore Melt Cosmetics as a brand. I think that they put so much into like even like the artwork on the outer packaging. I love the color stories. I like the grunginess to the brand. I think that they put a lot of thought into their releases. I just think like their formula it's not necessarily beginner friendly is what I will say. But still, I had to rank Melt at number 6. Alrighty, we are at number 5, and I had to give number 5 to Pat McGrath. I do really enjoy Pat's eyeshadow palettes. They're just obviously very expensive, and I have had there's a quad. Eternal Eden is the one I'm thinking of because I used it today to decide if I wanted to still keep it. You want to make sure you're getting one, you want to make sure you choose the palette that has a color story you're going to use about every shade in. There's usually 10 shades obviously in the larger palettes. That she has had those like larger holiday palettes. I've never owned one of those, but for example, like this one, I really do enjoy this palette, but in terms of color story, it's not something I'm reaching for all that frequently. I love my Bronze Seduction palette. I think that's this palette right here. Yes, I'm like obsessed with this eyeshadow palette. Her special shades are obviously like what you're paying for. I think her mattes are easy to work with and easy to blend, but I almost wish these would be treated just as companion palettes, because usually I'm never reaching into a Pat McGrath palette to create a full look, and I almost wish we could like skip the mattes and just do 10 special shades or something like that. But I do still get excited to see her releases. I just like to wait to buy them on sale, so it's not necessarily something where I'm like purchasing Pat McGrath on launch day, but I'm always doing like a double, triple, quadruple take and just like waiting for a sale to purchase the Pat palettes. So I love the formula. It's just very expensive, but I had to rank this at number 5. Coming in at number 4, I have Patrick Todd. Now, Patrick Todd does only have one eyeshadow palette in his line thus far. This is the Major Dimension eyeshadow palette. I waited way too long to purchase this. I wish I purchased this sooner. It's a beautiful palette, especially if you just need a go-to everyday, like your ride or die neutral palette. That's like what this has become for me. I actually love the cream shadows in here. They're very, very easy to work with. If you need just like a solid one shadow and done, like just one matte shadow in your crease and good to go, that is what I use the cream shades for. But I also like laying them down as a base. The textures of the shimmers in this, some of these are a little bit chunkier, but they really, like the impact and the payoff that you get from them is just absolutely beautiful. The mattes are very creamy, very easy to blend, and I'm just a huge fan of this palette, and I'm very excited to see what he will release, hopefully for his next eyeshadow palette. Coming in at number 3 is a brand that I've been obsessed with since I first started trying the eyeshadow formula, and it's Huda Beauty. Now, Huda Beauty, you can have some hits and misses, but I still hands down always get super excited about every single thing that she's released. The only eyeshadow launch that I have not purchased from since I started purchasing from her is like the pastel, like little not little quads, the little pastel 9 pan palettes. I didn't purchase any from the pastel collection, and then I also have not owned her original large palette, the rose one or the new nude. Still to this day I'm like, do I need to purchase the new nude? But I owned Desert Dusk and wasn't a huge fan of the formula of that, but I love Mercury Retrograde, Naughty Nude, Rose Quartz, and so many other of the 9 pan eyeshadow palettes I just absolutely adore from Huda Beauty. Again, you can get some hits and some misses, but overall I just think she has some really fun, unique textures and tones in her palettes, and I look forward to every launch from her. Coming in at number 2, I have Artist Couture, which has become a new favorite eyeshadow brand since I started testing these out. I purchased the Supreme Nudes first. I purchased it either at the very end of 2020 or the very beginning of 2021, and I fell in love with this eyeshadow palette. I love the color story. I like the way that the mattes blend together. I like how smooth the foiled shades are in here. I just think you can get such solid, it's just an easy palette. Like the formula is very easy to work with. I look into this palette and I'm not confused. Like I can come up with looks. It's something that I feel like would be very dependable to take traveling, or even just like like if this was the only eyeshadow palette in my collection, I feel like I would be devastated because I love eyeshadow so much. But like as like an everyday consumer, I feel like this would just be like perfect. And then I also have the Supreme Bronze palette, which I loved last summer and truly cannot wait to pull this bad boy back out for summer 2022. This is gonna feel, I feel like this is gonna be one of my go-tos. So truly I get so excited even thinking about Artist Couture releasing another palette. Cannot wait. Formula is so good, very beginner friendly. I highly recommend either of these 2 Artist Couture palettes. I think they're phenomenal and my number 2 in this ranking. All right, and then coming in at number 1, this is just a handful of the mini palettes that I own from Natasha Denona. I really should do an updated Natasha Denona ranking. Maybe I'll do that in like my next palette week in like 3 months from now, because I know another Natasha palette will come into my collection between now and then. But truly I love the Natasha Denona eyeshadow formula. I was disappointed in her Mini Crush palette, but overall I just get so incredibly excited about her releases. I think that honestly, even in every size, there are some mini palettes that I love, some of the midi palettes that I love. I love the Natasha Denona Gold palette, which I think is discontinued or being discontinued. I have the Lila palette, some of the Lila palette on my eyes today. I love that there's just such a range of different textures and formulas, and I just get so excited about any Natasha Denona launch. So it wasn't even a question where I was like writing out all of the brands from Sephora. I already knew Natasha Denona was going to be my number 1. So very expensive again, but in my opinion, so worth it. And after that, that is going to wrap up another eyeshadow video. I would love to know, what is your feedback down below? What brands do you love their eyeshadow formulas? What brands eyeshadow formulas do you love? Which ones do you hate? let a girl know in the comments below. Other than that, thank you so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.